Sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Roshni, yes.
Please give the countdown.
So, sir, it's 3, 2, 1. Sir, we are live now. Over to you.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to Live Pharma Coalition, the world's #1 platform as far as learning and sharing is concerned for the pharmaceutical professionals. It is said that our destiny is not determined by the shoes we wear, but by the steps we take. And LPC is such a platform which has taken huge steps in learning and sharing. It had started with the baby steps 2 years back, but with the love and support of so many people, we are indeed making giant strides in developing learning and sharing among the pharma professionals. It is said that if a man empties his purse into his head, no one can take it from him. Therefore, if we have knowledge, let others light their candles in it. Sharing knowledge is the most fundamental act of friendship because it's a way we can give something without losing anything. In fact, the only irreplaceable capital an organization possesses is the knowledge and the ability of its people. The productivity of that capital depends on how effectively people share their competences with those who can use it. In the long history of humankind, those who learn to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed. So the most extensive a man's knowledge of what has been done, the greater will be his power of knowing what to do. That's the power of knowledge sharing, and LPC has been doing that over the last 104 sessions. In fact, the way we are cutting trees, we need time to sharpen the axe, and LPC is that platform where we are sharpening the axe week after week. So as we move into LPC 105, I would like to share a few slides on the journey of LPC. So once again, welcome to Live Pharma Coalition, the world's largest online pharma discussion platform. In fact, LPC has come to this position with the support of more than 45 pharma companies, 125 plus speakers, and absolutely 20,000 plus reach on YouTube and Facebook. In fact, we have got a strong executive member team of 28 stalwarts from the pharmaceutical industry who are spread across the length and breadth of this country. In fact, this was the coveted event that took place. This was LPC Conclave 100, which took place on 20th March at Mumbai. So dear friends, dear companies and institutions, for any type of collaboration that you would like to have with this Live Pharma Coalition, please don't hesitate to connect with Mr. Raman, Mr. Yashwant, Mr. ICS, or myself. In fact, these were the leaders who shared their thoughts, shared their experience and knowledge on the LPC 100 conclave at Mumbai. And this picture, this photograph is reminiscent of the love and support which the pharma industry has on Live Pharma Coalition, the faith, the trust, and the belief they have on this world's largest learning and sharing platform for the pharma professionals. So it's time I thank our support partner, that is Imagica Health. In fact, Imagica Health in a nutshell explores the intersection between design, digital health technology, and content marketing for the leading brands. In fact, they have an ex-marketeer-led team of medical writer, graphic designers, streamers, coders who serve the pharmaceutical for bettering customer engagement, bringing patient centricity, and improving control on the sales team, and increasing the return on the investment for various marketing campaigns. So thank you so much, Imagica Health, for being a constant support as far as learning and sharing is concerned on Live Pharma Coalition. Friends, as we progress into LPC 105, which is about academic leadership to build a collaborative learning community. In fact, today we have two live wire speakers, and one of them is Mr. Subram Sudha, who is the BU head, Cipla Acute Care, and the topic that he's going to dwell upon is leadership style and its relevance for today's pharma leaders. And second in line, we have Ms. Madhumita Manna, who is the Director, Healthcare, Indian Chambers of Commerce, Slovak Republic. And the topic that she is going to throw light on is the need for patient centricity in digital era. So along with me, I also have Mr. Yashwant Mishra as a moderator, who is the founder director, Benzen Ring Learning Solutions. So thank you so much, Live Pharma Coalition LPC-104, which was last week, on Young Leadership, which was live on Facebook page and YouTube. And thank you for the support of our viewers. So today also, I can promise our live audience and viewers that we are going to have a fabulous session on LPC-105, where our two wonderful speakers are going to share their learning, their experience, and their journey in the pharmaceutical industry. So it's time for me to hand over the proceedings to Mr. Yashwant Mishra for the next part of this session. Yashwant sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Arpan. Thank you for nice introduction. And welcome all the viewers to Live Pharma Coalition, a global knowledge platform for pharma professionals. We are happy to share that the response we are getting from you all and the speakers is tremendous. And with the successful event of LPC Conclave, we are very shortly coming out with LPC Conclave 2.0. So wait for the announcement, and we'll again meet physically very soon in a exotic place with a lot of thought leaders across the pharma industry. Today's session is very relevant on two most important aspects of our pharma industry. One is leadership style as per the current situation, how to lead and build a high performance team. What should be your appropriate leadership style? You should be strategist, you should be change catalyst, you should be builder, or you should be communicator. So find out this with our speaker. Then apart from this, another very important aspect is customer-centric approach. Today's dynamics of pharmaceutical landscape is changing very rapidly. So it is very important that companies, organizations across should focus on customer centricity, customer service, customer sensitivity, and customer delight. And these both are the topic we are going to touch. Our first speaker today, Mr. Subram Sudha, is BU Head, Cipla Acute Care. So Subram Sudha, welcome to Live Pharma Coalition. We have been behind Subram Sudha for a long time to come as a speaker, and today fortunately he has time and he has accepted our invite. Thank you very much, Subram Sudha. A brief overview of your topic.
Yes, thanks, Yashwant. It's a privilege to share the platform with Madhumita, who has been a coveted speaker, and with Yashwant, you and Arpan. Also, Live Pharma Coalition has come a long way. 105 episodes over 2 years is a commendable job. So if I have to tell briefly about the topic that I would throw some light today, well, leadership is a very vast topic, very difficult to summarize in maybe 10-15 minutes. But the times that we are living in calls for some different aspects of leadership, which probably when the leadership theories were written or when they were researched and put forward, probably these times were not considered. Yes, this would be considered maybe 5 years down the line, but that time it would be too late. So I thought, let me just share with some of my thoughts with the listeners and the viewers today about what are my views on the current leadership styles that may help people go forward or move forward in their career journey.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Looking forward to learn from you. And with that, we have Madhumita ma'am. She has already come as a speaker. She's an active member in Live Pharma Coalition. Ma'am, thank you very much once again for accepting our invite. A brief overview of your topic, Madhumita ma'am.
Hi, I'm Madhumita, and I'm really glad to be here the second time. I think kudos to LPC. Every week after week, getting the platform and the speakers, the relevant speakers, is quite a big task. So I really need to compliment the entire team. Of course, Yashwant, Arpan, Raman, all of them are visible, but I think the entire team there needs a lot of accolades. In terms of the overview of the topic, basically, I think there is a huge leapfrogging and transition that is also happening in the pharmaceutical industry from the time I joined in 2006, because The first 10 years of my career with FMCG, and then of course a very substantial time with Pfizer, DRL, Torrent. One thing that I observed in pharma is moving from shifting from product centricity to being consumer centric, but we are still not there in the sense that the way the FMCG conducts themselves in terms of the consumer data and insights, many times we do, but there could be a lot of more in-depth which is required. And more so with the current digital onslaught, which pharmaceutical is now adopting very fast. Given the pandemic, I think it has kind of fast forwarded the stuff, because and there is nothing wrong or right about it, but pharmaceutical industry has been very, very traditional in adopting to a lot of changes. So digital is also very recent. I think now with that, the patient centricity is all the more important in terms of understanding the consumer insights, etc. And that's the topic that I want to emphasize on, because I've really seen the transition from the traditional marketing to digital, and I'm sure Shubhanshu, all of you are seeing that, or from being a product-centric to a patient-centric, and why the importance now more with the onslaught of digital and AI both. So that is what my topic is going to cover.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Very relevant topic in today's contest, and we are looking forward to learn from you. Thank you once again for accepting our invite. And with that, we'll go to our first speaker, Subram Sudha, for the topic. Subram Sudha, as Arpan already mentioned, is BU head in Cipla Limited. He is having around 15 years of experience in Cipla, and his expertise is into respiratory, pediatric, and medicine as a therapy. And not only that, he is expert in market planning and business development. So Subram Sudha, education-wise, has done MBA in international business from Symbiosis Institute. So we are really privileged to have Subram Sudha in our platform, and he's going to talk about leadership style in today's contest. Subram Sudha, please go ahead.
Thank you, Yashwant. So just let me know when my screen is visible.
Yes, visible now.
Okay.
Visible now.
Okay. So can I start, Yashwant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, and a very good morning to all the viewers today. Leadership styles and its relevance for today's pharma leaders. As Yashwant has said, I've been with Cipla about 15 years, and throughout my journey, I've seen a lot of very successful and very stalwart leaders in my journey. And whatever I'm speaking today is from my experience and entirely my views on pharma leadership. So before we go ahead, yeah. So first of all, let me tell you, this is not my picture and not somebody whom I know. This is just a picture of a pose called handstand. Even I did not know this some time back until I came across a very unique thing about this. When I asked a group of people how much time they would need to master this handstand, this pose, which many of us would have seen the Tiger Shroffs of this world do. Somebody said 2 weeks, somebody said 3 weeks. And when I went, I did a little bit of research, and I read about this gentleman called Jeff Bezos, whom you all know as the CEO of Amazon. So people think that, in his words, most people think that if they work hard, they would be able to master it in about 2 weeks. And astonishingly, that is what even the people whom I asked showing this picture, they also felt the same thing. But a friend of Jeff, he actually employed a handstand coach and learned that it takes nothing less than 6 months of dedicated practice to master this pose. So if somebody thinks that he or she would be able to master it in 2 weeks, what they are leading to is actually they will end up stopping this exercise midway and moving to some other work. So setting unrealistic targets probably is a first step towards not accomplishing anything. And probably that goes that goes that correlates with the leadership challenges that we are setting ourselves up in today's world. Many times we feel that leadership is everybody's job, everybody is a leader. Yes, it is. But in true sense, in today's VUCA world, leadership is a task that needs time to develop. People need to be patient, and we need to give the adequate time for all of us to master it. Now, a bit of theory in first, 5 leadership styles. First one, laissez-faire, where the leader lacks, he does not need to supervise. You have a super efficient team, you don't need to supervise. That is what the first leadership style is. Second one, autocratic, where all decisions are being taken by the leaders, and it is more of like the authoritative leader. Sometimes it is even called as a dictatorship or whatever name you want to call it. Democratic leadership or participative is the third one, where you get everybody's collaboration, acceptance before going ahead with something. Transactional means very case-based leadership style. Transformational leadership, the fifth one, as I told you, this is a bit of theory in first, where you are there for some task and you just depends on high level of communication just to get some task, just getting it done. So from point A, you have to move to point B. You need a transformational leadership if you have to go to do it in a very short time and with lot of impact. When we talk of the leadership behaviors, so basically leadership behaviors are again divided into 4 quadrants: delegating, supporting, coaching, and directing. So first one here, low supportive and low directive behavior, which moves on to the high supportive and low directive. When it is a coaching type of leadership behavior, it's high directive and highly supportive. And when it's only directing leadership behavior, it is high on directive and low on supportive behavior. But as I told you at the beginning, this is more of how do we implement this in today's VUCA world, in today's pharma industry. And I'm not getting into the post-COVID or post-pandemic world. I'm talking about the overall changes in the pharma industry. I came across this very interesting thing that I read, Crucibles of Leadership. You must be wondering what this thing is. This ceramic pot is a cup type of a thing where metals were poured into, and at a very high temperature, medieval chemists, they used to transform metals into gold. So that was the way people used to manage through this crucible. So they are called crucibles. In leadership, many times there are some significant events in the life where it could be positive or negative, which converts an ordinary person, somebody who was just doing his daily job, converts an ordinary person to a leader. And we are those of you who are fond of watching Bollywood films would be able to correlate this. One significant event happens and an ordinary person transforms into a leader. In most successful leaders that I have come across, the crucible has been the wave of unavoidable reorganization in this ever-changing pharmaceutical arena. Now, what are these changes? How has it changed over the years? Now, personally, I have been associated with pharma industry last 16 years. I have seen this change, that earlier we never used to talk about a happy and a healthy workforce. There's a marked increase in the common theme of expectation from the present day leaders. They are expected to build in energy. Earlier, like I was having a discussion just yesterday with someone, earlier leaders were feared, they were respected. Now leaders are expected to infuse energy. You can't infuse energy if you are feared. So building energy and resilience in this fast changing pharma world is again a very basic requirement that has changed over these years. With the increased globalization, there is an increased expectation to lead and diverse global teams going beyond the comfort of your zone, your local and regional teams. And leaders are expected to deliver more with tighter marketing and R&D budget, but ever increasing top line targets. So you need a very resilient leader when you don't have when you don't have a impressive pipeline of drugs coming in every year, and you have to stay competitive in this market. You have to build that resilience in you. So that is one expectation that has changed over the years. Leaders are being asked to streamline processes and policies more than ever. Gone are the days when there used to be a policy that was rolled out from the central team and you expect everybody to fall in line. Today, there will be people questioning the policy. There will be people who will be having different views about the policy, but it's leaders who are expected to roll it down, streamline the processes and policies, which has not been the case even some years back. To stay competitive and find novel medicine, also often challenging the leaders to stay up to date with the latest technology. What new dosage form, what new drugs are in the pipeline, what is happening in the world. Leaders have to be, just on the top of it. Seventh point is very important one, the digital age. So today being tech savvy is not an added qualification. Leaders have to be visible on the social media. Leaders have to be IT savvy, and digital leadership is, as I told you, it's not an optional part anymore. People today, I learned, choose their bosses or leaders on the basis of their social media presence. I mean, this is something that it was new for me also. Leaders with diverse backgrounds bring on board the best practices and diverse knowledge from other organizations. So this is another expectation that has changed over the years, and they are expected to drive performance with an increased sense of urgency. There are no 5-year plans that are getting rolled out. There is probably a year plan, 6 months plan, or maybe a quarterly plan. And where I come from, we are even doing weekly plans. So that is the sense of urgency which leaders are expected to deliver today. Almost every deadline, when you ask, is yesterday. So what is the challenge? Challenge is to cope with all these situations, and probably I could list some. There are obviously much more. Yet we have to stay compliant. So the only answer is raise in the leadership expectation bar. The kind of leaders that we need today probably have to be much above. The bar has to be raised than like never before. Common traits. I think you all have seen this: leadership, empowering people, inspiring people, leading the change, share vision. All this is very common. But what truly differentiates a true leader in today's world, who will energize people to work with him or her and not for him or her or under him or her as a formal requirement of the reporting structure. So leadership is actually what happens beyond the reporting structure. Today, you may have a team that is directly or in a dotted line reporting to you, but you may also have a very large team who are not reporting to you, but without their collaboration, you cannot move even one step forward. A true leader will get all of them together. So there's a lot of collaborative leadership that is the differentiating factor today. What I've seen from very successful and visible. So I want to emphasize on this word visible, because there are many, I think everyone, the person working in R&D or working in a factory is also a leader, but probably they are not so visible. They choose to work behind the scenes. But when I talk about successful and visible leaders in pharma, I think few aspects I would like to put forward today. One is contemporary. They have the knowledge benchmark competition and processes in the current skill sets. So what is happening around? Successful and visible leaders embrace the organization or the company's culture. So it's not like somebody, a stalwart who has his own, who is running his own world, just working in an organization but running his own world. No, it's not the case. They have to embrace the organization's culture. Somebody whom people will trust and follow during crisis and uncertainty to pull them through. And we have seen this during the last 2 years, where there was a lot of uncertainty around, and we have seen the great resignations. And this is what tells us that where these people actually hooked on to their leaders, they have decided to move on during this crisis. Have their companies been enough supportive? So leadership is when whom people choose to trust and follow even during crisis and uncertainty. Today's leader always have to have patients and customers in mind as the end users in all the decisions made. And I'm very happy that our next speaker will be throwing light on this topic itself, where she'll be talking about the end users and the consumers. Ethical. I think today's world leaders cannot do everything but not follow the ethics. And when we talk of ethics, we talk of everything, whether it is the environmental concern, whether it's the regulatory concerns, everything. So the leaders in pharma have to be doing all of this. And if you are in sales and marketing, the numbers. So when I was reading through this, there are 8 archetypes of leadership, which is very relevant to the pharma industry, though it is a 2013 article by Manfred, published in HBR, but it's very relevant even today. First one, the strategist, leadership like a game of chess, calculate and move. The change catalyst, leadership being a turnaround activity. The transactor, leadership as a deal making. So it's more about negotiations and moving from one deal to the other. The builder, the leadership as an entrepreneurial activity where you build like you would do in a building. You build from the scratches. Innovator, leadership as a creative idea generation. The processor, leadership as an exercise in efficiency. The coach, leadership as a form of people development, and the communicator as a stage management. Now, when we talk of 8, the obvious question comes, which is more important, which is less important? Does it mean that all of us have to be good in all of these? Answer is probably no. But here, if you are in sales and marketing or aspire to be in a leadership position in sales and marketing, I think this point number 8, the communicator, leadership as a stage management, this becomes very important. All the other ones have to support the communicator. So if you do everything else great, but you're not able to communicate it, probably you will be one of those backstage leaders who would not be visible. But the strategist, the processor, transactor, all of this are very important, as is the role of the coach when you are trying to build a team for the long run. And all of this become relevant on very situation to situation basis. So if I have to talk about my take on these 8 types of leadership, I think my take would be situational leadership, because one, it is intuitive and flexible, so you can move around, you can flex yourself according to the situation. Secondly, it matches your leadership style to the 4 quadrants which we saw in the beginning. Most important part is it is a partnership in performance. When you're leading a team or a business, the performance happens through partnership. It's, as I told you before, it is not about somebody working under someone or for someone. It is working together. So it is partnership in performance through situational leadership. Now here you will also find some of the team members who are not going up to the mark as you would have expected. So here the situational leadership also allows you to use something called as regressive leadership. You can go back, maybe one step or two steps you have to go down, pull up a slipping team member back on track, because remember, a team is as good as the weakest link, as applies to the chain. A chain is as good as the weakest link. Same is about a team. Even your weakest team member will pull you down. So it's very important to bring back a slipping individual's performance back on track. So performance through partnership, or partnership in performance, would be the buzzword in today's leadership. Where do we start? First, introspect. Interview yourself. Where do you stand? What are your strengths? Why should somebody be led by you? And there are very good articles on this topic, on knowing yourself, what are your leadership styles, and where you are comfortable and where you are not. So as they say, you can always build on your strengths, but leadership is something where you probably also need to plug your weaknesses. Seek feedback. When you're talking about seeking feedback, I think there will always be members in the team who are a little bit difficult to manage. I think they are the people who build you for your future. They are the ones who will ask you the difficult questions, who will not accept everything naturally. Seek feedback from them, because they are the ones who are going to give you the feedback which is most relevant, and do it proactively. Before the 360-degree survey in the organization, I think you should do it yourself. Communicate and listen actively. So where we need to communicate whatever is there, what needs to be communicated and what must be communicated. And also we need to listen actively to what the other person has to say about the team, about the things that are going on. Building trust, because this takes time. The other three probably you can do immediately. Building trust is a time-tested matter, and it does not happen overnight. You have to start building it today, like a tree. It will take time, but when you build it, I'm sure this is one of the strongest foundations. Lastly, you have to be visible. When you are a leader, you cannot work in the trenches and behind the scenes only. You have to be visible, be in the front, and communicate from the front. So that I would say as the starting point for the aspiring leaders in pharma industry today. So thank you. Thanks, Yashwant. With that, I think I've tried to throw some light on this topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. To the point and crisp presentation, and good thing is that you maintained the timeline also. In a very short time, you have given very good comprehensive perspective of leadership. So a brief take home, then we'll go to question answer. You started with the headstand, right? Another unique thing, and you shared that it takes 6 months to daily practice to do that headstand. It is not a 1 or 2 days. So that is how leadership also requires perseverance and patience. Not only that, crucible, a wave of unavoidable reorganization is required for leaders to cope up with the changing dynamics of pharmaceutical industry. And some of the expertise you shared was that is transformational leadership, transitional leadership, democratic leadership, and autocratic leadership. Not only that, you also shared how leaders can be competent in current situation, cope with the situation, and stay competent. That is the challenge of the leadership. And what you suggested is empowering people, and not only that, inspiring people, lead change, and share a vision. This is what you shared. It is really wonderful listening to you. And 8 traits you told about the leadership is strategist, change catalyst, transformer, builder, innovator, processor, coach, and communicator. These are a different type of leadership. And what you shared is It is not important that each and every leadership style you should have, but according to situation, what you recommend is situational leadership. According to different situation, you can change your leadership style also as per the situation. And last but not least, your suggestion is to introspect, seek feedback, communicate, listen actively, very, very important, build a trust, and be visible to your team members. Thank you very much, Dada. It is really wonderful listening to you. One question I have, can you refer to an instant where situational leadership helped in a crisis situation? As you share that your recommendation is situational leadership. If you can share some instance, it will be good for our viewers to learn.
Yes, Yashwant, it's a very relevant question. So I think last 2 years when we were suddenly managing teams, from managing a team that was on the ground meeting customers to managing a team which was working from home, which was unthinkable, right? We came up with a lot of solutions, lot of digital driven solutions, and as some of the viewers might agree, that it was not very well accepted from the field. That how can we a digital meeting be a substitute for a physical meeting, at least in that time. So it's better even not to do anything. So that was a time when we got a lot of pushback. Normally I try to build a consensus and get things done, but that was a time I had to change depending on the situation to bit of an authoritative leadership and push things so that they are done. Now the obvious question is, okay, you are saying we can do it, but making people understand that probably in today's world, this is the only thing that you can do to touch base with your customer. This is the only reason for you to touch base with a customer. If you are meeting him physically, probably you have got 100 other reasons to meet. Otherwise, what is your reason to touch base with the customer and do it? So these are very small things. I can recall of one more incident where one of the molecules we were launching first time in the world, but unfortunately there was a situation where there was some negative publicity about the way that molecule works. Immediately we had to change our stand, and how we went to our customers. Spreading knowledge was one thing, and talking about the well-being and the usage of this molecule was the other. So these are two examples of situational leadership which we had to adopt in a very short time, in at least what I can recall in last 6 months to 1 year.
Thank you very much. Very relevant incidents you have shared. One more point you talked about was proactive feedback. As you will be agree, feedback is a breakfast of champions, we call it. But sometimes feedbacks are positive and sometimes feedbacks are negative also. So what is your recommendation? How to deal with the negative feedback? If you can throw some light on that.
Yes, Yashwant, I think that is something as leaders we are not very used to. Normally, you tell something, sir, very good. Yes, sir, we are with you, sir. But the moment you get a negative feedback, sometimes the immediate reaction is to challenge it. Right? We don't challenge a positive feedback, but we challenge a negative feedback. But personally, and this is one mistake I would like to tell everyone, I made my share of mistakes when I used to challenge negative feedbacks. And probably what I have learned in the course of time, that is not right. Negative feedback is probably the best thing that you can get. And there are 2 words that you can tell after the negative feedback is thank you. Thank the person who has shared that feedback with you. Take a note of it. If you genuinely feel that you need to work on it, please do that. And see if there's some scope of improvement. Probably you will be a better person if you practice this word thank you for every negative feedback.
Got it. Thank you very much. In our leadership workshop also we tell that feedback is like a prasad. Even if you are diabetic and getting a laddu, you need to accept. You cannot give it back. I'm diabetic. It is a prasad you have to accept. Whether you will implement or not, it is up to you, but you need to accept. You cannot deny the prasad. So feedback is like a prasad. You need to take it. Thank you very much, Dada.
A lot of time, to understand that it takes ages. Personally, it took me a lot of time to do that, but hopefully I've moved a little bit from what I was a few years back.
Yes, thank you, Dada. Thank you very much for the session. We really enjoyed. Please stay tuned. We'll have some more questions from the viewer after the second session. And before moving to Arpan for the next session, let me thank all the viewers who have been appreciating our session. A lot of questions. Ma'am, there is a question for you already on customer centricity from Amitesh Mishra has already asked you a question. We will take it later on. Samitra Bhattacharya, thank you very much. ICS Verma, Armugam Arasan, Nilanjan Nag, thank you very much for your appreciation. Sandeep Kidwai, Asutosh Mishra, and Rohit Vilecher. Thank you very much, everyone, for appreciation and active participation. Over to Arpan for the next session.
Thank you so much, Yashwant sir. In fact, yes, you are right. Feedback is the breakfast for champions. And it's a prasad that can even be taken by a diabetic person because it doesn't increase the sugar levels. Absolutely correct. And as far as leadership theories are concerned, thank you so much, Subram Sudha, for giving us a very good insight about the different types of leadership. But above all, empowering the team and situational leadership is what is going to be the rule for the day. And that is what we're going to take forward. So now it's my turn to introduce another live wire speaker on LPC platform, that is Ms. Madhumita Manna. She's a senior management professional with experience in managing profit centers and leading diverse businesses across healthcare, OTC, ethical pharma business, FMCG, lifestyle products, and media. She is really humbled to have got opportunities to turn businesses and brands around through new business models and insight-based strategies. In fact, she has successfully leveraged the profit and losses by identifying new revenue generation opportunities and achieving operational cost efficiencies. She is a strong people management skill, and which is evident through leading cross-functional teams that have successfully implemented innovative business plans, managing flagship brands like Kodak, Kama Sutra, India TV, World Gold Council, Bicosul, Gelusil, Corex, Listerine, Caladry, Nice, Cetrin, Vicks, and several ethical products in India and globally. And currently, her last assignment was leading a consumer nutraceutical business in a startup. Today, she is a director healthcare in India Chamber of Commerce in the Slovak Republic. And today, in fact, we are very much privileged to have her, and she is going to throw light on the need for patient centricity in digital era. So thank you so much, Madhumita ma'am, for accepting our invite. Now the stage is all yours. It's over to you, ma'am.
I'm humbled and I feel privileged to be here. A great session by Shubhanshu on the leadership styles. And of course, a lot of situational leadership is required when it comes to sales and marketing. Basically, when you're transitioning from X kind of a thing where you had traditional marketing going on to digital marketing, it's a lot of drive and a lot of situational leadership that is required to implement this throughout the organization so that we can percolate that down to customers. I think his entire presentation has set a base. Let me just give me a couple of minutes to share my screen.
Visible.
Visible, yeah. So rise of patient centricity in the digital age. In 2006, when I joined a certain organization where I almost spent 11 years in Pfizer, the consumer division, Pfizer had, I think it was 3 years that they had taken over from Park Davis, and there were all of these very, very leading brands that one was given to manage. Your Gelusil, Bicosul, Listerine, Benadryl. Of course, Listerine and Benadryl later on got divested to J&J, and 26 host of 26 brands, which were both OTC, OTX, RX across 5 therapeutic areas. One of the things at that time that Pfizer was really transitioning was to get people from the consumer segment. In fact, our view had also was from Dabur, etc., and to slowly transition from being just product centric to consumer centric, especially in this division. And I think that formed a very good base to really understand and also to implement a lot of patient centricity, which also came from my decade-long experience in FMCG. Why do we say that in the digital era, the patient centricity is all the more required? If you look at, I hope the slide is changing. Yashwant, Arpan?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So if you look in the last decade, people have been more wellness focused. So illness to wellness, which is a huge transition over the last decade or so. People are looking at their health. They are very conscious. And when you are very conscious about your health, with due respect to the doctors, there's a lot of reading and a lot of discussion which you do with many other stakeholders in the systems. So that is one thing which is very important to know, that if people are moving from illness to wellness, there is a lot of conversation happening around your product, whether it be OTC, prescription, or OTX. When I say OTX, it means that a product which has self-medication possibility and a prescription possibility both. And if you look at our Indian OTC products, most of them will have a very good percentage of RX also. So it is very important that not only do we reach out to the healthcare professionals, but we also be with the consumer in the platforms that they are looking and searching for information. There is a lot of switches from RX to OTC. Of course, the big switch happened with Revital, but many of this medicine, this thing, for example, during my tenure, we switched Bicosul to a deemed OTC. Bicosul was a highly prescribed product, but there was a lot of self-purchase which was going on. So it was just the right time to shift Bicosul to OTC, talking to the regulators, taking all the measures that was required to move the product to OTC. Doctors, which was the sole source of a lot of medication, disease-related information. Now you have multiple sources. We have Dr. Saab, but Dr. Google is becoming big. We have the pharmacist and the pharmacy channel, but e-commerce is something which is emerging. I think in many of the companies, it was just possibly contributing only 0.5 to 1% of the sales, but now the percentages would be much higher. And people are definitely moving in from general medicine to customized products. So if you look at nutraceuticals, earlier you had nutraceuticals like a vitamin B complex or a multivitamin. Now you have nutraceuticals which are very disease related. They are customized to that particular disease. So there is an emergence of customized products. And why all of this is happening? Because there is a lot of knowledge, information which the consumer is seeking. Some of the statistics which are there in, say, Kantar Media, and I picked up some of them. It says that 43% of the consumers say that internet is still the first source that they go to while researching for health topics. Okay. Overall, if you look at the entire doctor diagnosis, while the doctor is doing an independent diagnosis and there is a discussion with the doctor, post the doctor has prescribed, they also again go to Google and confirm the doctor diagnosis. The second statistics, if you see the online shops earlier used to contribute, I forgot to put the statistics much before COVID, what it was, but the online e-commerce shops, which is to possibly contribute in the, say 11 to 12% is now contributing 49% to the sales. Pharmacy also has 47% because you're ordering online from the pharmacies, supermarkets 43%. Nutraceutical stores about 34%, and all these statistics are Indian statistics, and others are about 3 to 4%. Now, when I spoke some time back about that doctor is not the sole source of information, but there are multiple sources of information. If you see, typically, if you look at the graph age-wise from 0 to 60, the 0 to has a high profile of doctor influence, but as you go towards your 40s and 40 to 60, there is a good balance of people who are also informing. So if you look at, say, I'm taking this example again from the nutraceutical industry. There are a lot of things people are focusing. As the age group grows, the multiple people are influencing the this thing, because there is the doctor, who is one of the basic cornerstone, but we are also consulting a lot with friends and families, because everybody with the onslaught of Dr. Google kind of knows a lot of things. We have not only that, but we also, because we become health conscious, we go to the gym, we go to the nutritionist. So there is a plethora of people who are influencing your decision to take a certain nutraceutical or certain product. I know of a cancer patient, who is recently in the remission stage. She actually for the last 10 to 11 years managed her cancer, not through chemo and not through the medication. She's managed it through entire Kerala Ayurvedic thing. And I said, Didi, how do you do this? And she said, the entire source of information is available on the net. And she used to do this extensive reading every day. And she's followed the Ayurvedic way to come out of her breast cancer. In fact, she had gone to Kerala for a very long time, finding out the right Ayurvedic doctor in a village and come out of it. So you can see that even with that kind of a disease, how people are trying to read up and see if there are alternative methods, if there are better methods of coming out of the problems. And therefore, every medicine which is present, whether it is a self-medication like an OTC, OTX or RX, the presence on digital is required. Now for the presence on digital, one of the very key things, and I've just given consumer segmentation can be done in various ways, but I'm just given one example of consumer segmentation of the modern consumers who are consuming medication. So there are a plethora of people who's psychologically are very different. So for example, if you do a psychographic segmentation, you have the self-achievers who are very big time on reading. They are very, very health conscious, and they just are very up to date on what is happening in the health and the fitness realm. And they're very, they're the go-to people who can give you the advice, and they do their checkups and screenings very well. Then you are the balance seeker, who are very much like the self-achievers, but they're a little cautious in terms of the pricing, etc. Then there are priority jugglers who possibly are like our moms and all, who place a lot of priority of health of the others before their priorities. And they spend too much of time, they put back, their entire health takes a backseat. Then there are direction takers who follow what the doctor says, come what may. And there are willful endurers. So your knee pain is going on forever, and I'm doing nothing about it except for complaining a little bit here and there. The self-achievers and balance seekers, if you see, if you go deep into the study, which is a white paper by Procter and Gamble, and who are the low-hanging fruits for most of the self-medication and OTC kind of a thing, are always seeking a lot of information on the net. They are one of the largest consumers of the pharmaceutical. I couldn't obviously chapo the entire research here, so I've just taken pointers from the research. They're seeking the information all the time from the net. They're seeking information from their top-end gym instructors. They're seeking information. They're going to the nutritionist. So these are the people who are very, very important for self-medication and the OTX kind of a thing. And that's the first step, which is the consumer segmentation in terms of being patient-centric. So whenever you're launching a product, it is very important that you segment your consumer well and choose the consumer segment extremely well. When it comes to the go-to market, or when it comes to marketing the product, today as I said, there are a whole lot of stakeholders. So you have the doctors, you have the dietitians, you have the nutritionists, you have the medical schools, everything which influences the customer. The consumer themselves are people who do a lot of repeat purchase and self-purchase, and they're always online. Amazon, 1mg, their own e-commerce, what they are happy with. Even the doctors are seeking, irrespective of the fact that doctors are all knowledgeable, and with due respect, the ad boards and CMEs, now doctors are preferring to attend on online. And recently I was talking to my gynac, who's a good friend of mine, and she was saying that, I seek a lot of information, Madhumita, to be updated on the net. What are the new scientific things which are happening? What are the companies talking? all of that. Then you of course have the online and the chain pharmacies where we're doing a lot of availability, visibility, recommendation, but all of them today have the displays on internet. Even stockists, recently I had a stockist, couple of stockists who were in the age group of 29-30, and they are doing a lot of e-commerce, and they're, for example, when they wanted to, I wanted to build the new product with them, they did a lot of search online. So all the stakeholders are somehow there online or the other. So it's very important that before you launch the product, you have to be absolutely clear on your online strategy and what the online content will be and how and which platform you'll be visible on. India, of course, is leapfrogging into digital. There is a rise on demand healthcare. There is importance of big data in healthcare, because if you have to go online, if you have to get the right product and people are looking at customized product, the big data in the healthcare is really going to help the organizations build that kind of customization for the consumer. Health wearables or the medical devices are another thing that people are going into. So you see a lot of sales of the wearable medical devices, be your smartwatch or even, you know, the diabetic monitor, etc. Transformation is very much required in the healthcare leaders who are willing to take bold steps. We should have a customer-centric opportunity, this focused approach. We have to also think a lot of shift which is happening into preventive. We need to see how the preventive healthcare is adopted by most organizations. And people are very outcome based, they're very, very cause based. So embracing digital and enabling the technology to fulfill the people's desire of understanding the product, which, you know, digital also creates a lot of engagement with the consumer. It also creates a lot of transparency, which means what is the medicine which is being given, it's transparently written there, this is what you're getting and this is what the entire thing will be. Digital transformation in healthcare is, of course, a building block on the patient-centric approach, because I said that it is out there. What are the patient reading? What are the comments they are giving? How many likes they're giving? Or is understanding of the healthcare thing all throughout. There are many times in the last 5 to 6 years that I have really changed the strategy on the go, or change the creative on digital on the go, because you are getting the patient's insights on the go. The healthcare industry is focusing on patients' experience quite a lot, and therefore it is high time that we adopt and engage with the artificial intelligence as a platform or as a tool to understand that insight. So not only that gives us clarity on what kind of products we need to design, we get a lot of customer insight. What is the entire journey of the consumer to go towards that product? Okay, for example, when I looked at this antacid, we used to feel, you know, people go for antacid very, very directly, but it is not so. There is an entire ladder strategy. So there is a home remedy, for example, people go in for water first. If they have an acidity, then they go through chas, doodh, dahi, then they go through the herbal stuff like pudina and all. Then they go for the latest antacid, which is present in their household. And in the next step, they might go to a pharmacy to get recommendation of the antacid. And at the end stage, they go to a doctor. Okay. Now, if you look at this entire process of 6 to 7 steps that we have to maneuver with the customers, should be very well known to a marketer. And this can be well known. Today, it is very important and very easy to get this insight through the digital stuff. Going on to building patient centricity, what is most important are the 3 heads. There are, of course, a lot of other pointers which are there, but I've just picked up this 3 for today. One is focus on patient insights, and pharma organization needs to internalize the patient insights. You cannot ignore. You can't say that possibly I have this 10 thing in my products and consumers are going to take it because I have the most value-added product. Does the consumer need those kind of a value-added product? Will come from the patient insights. And please read between the lines rather than taking the patient insights just on the face value. Then, as I was saying, that you have to understand their journey and integrate it back into designing the strategy. I would like to, like I just gave the Gelisil or the antacid example, for a product which is a dermatological product, say if we take acne, we feel, giving the best of acne products is very important, because there is a lot of transition which is happening to look externally good. But if you look at an acne patient who possibly from the age of 13 or 14 gets an acne, she will first go to, her mother will first notice it. Then there will be a home remedy which will be subscribed, pani pilo beta. Then there will be some haldi, chandan and all of that. Then if that doesn't work, then there will be a neem ka face wash or something of that sort. There will be stages where she will go to some pharmacy outlet to see if there are some medication there. Then the beauty parlor comes into this thing. There is a time when nutritionists also might come into the journey. And at the end, when it is still not getting controlled, she's going to the doctor. So for a product, you have to influence all the stakeholders in the journey, which actually will take you to the, take the consumer to the product that you have given to the doctor. You have to involve all the stakeholders. So understanding that journey is extremely important. And it is very important to understand that journey also from the product designing point of view, the packaging designing point of view, the pricing designing point of view, and what are the conversations that you're going to have with each of these stakeholders in the ecosystem. Deciphering what the stakeholder needs is in the ecosystem is very important to really your consumer to bite into your product. Not only understanding the conversation, but the conversations today have to be very engaging, and it has to be a value added or an enhanced service. Penetration access. Now, personalized patient-centric products we have spoken about through insights and understanding the consumer journey, understanding the stakeholders. But, to also build up an infrastructure for greater success when we talk about go-to-market, adopting a speed to market new technologies and innovation is extremely important. Increasing access is very important, and the convenience to try out new products. So today, your product doesn't only need to be in those 6.5 to 8 lakh of chemist outlets, but you need to have them in the chain outlets. They have to be in all those, we talk about the top 5 e-commerce channels, top 5 or top 6, but this country has more than 100 e-commerce channels, and we need to be there. Of course, which product, what kind of cost, what kind of consumers you're approaching, that's very critical before you go, you select the e-commerce channel that you want to be. Even the selection of the channels online, on ground, has to be depending on what your product is focusing on, which consumer they're focusing on. For example, if it is a 12,000 rupees product, you may not go to the lower crop strata. You have to choose your markets, you have to choose your offline channels very judiciously. You have to choose your chain outlets very judiciously, and you have to choose your online channels also very judiciously. And this also means that you need to be very creative with your pricing models, and you also have to be very creative with the models of payment. Digital adoption, which is a very must, because it is faster to communicate not only with the patients and the consumers, but also with the HCPs. Dissemination of information, where there is a greater engagement, not only through content, but a lot of things lead to engagement, whether it is blogging, whether it is online PR, whether it is, what do you call it, even on your e-commerce, when people are searching the thing, there is a lot of dialogue which is happening between the product and in their minds. And the presence in online, as I said some time back, also creates a lot of trust and transparency. So there has to be, and we have to adopt an holistic approach and offer not only the product, but also a lot of post-patient service to make the patient feel supported throughout his journey, so that there is a lot of repeat purchase which is happening. For example, if you take a very simple example, very simple example, which we all have known in Amazon, if you don't like the product, they take back the product, right? So that is a post service that is available to the patient. If it is a diabetic product, of course, if you look at the big companies, they are carrying the patient through, and they have used a lot of digital tools to be along with the patient throughout the journey and to remind them of what they need to do in their next step towards curing themselves. So there has to be a holistic approach of pre-launch, during launch, and post-launch. So that's about it from my side. I'm most happy to take up more questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhumita ma'am, for this wonderful presentation on the rise of patient centricity in digital era. In fact, before you started the presentation, already Yashwant sir said about the questions that were flowing before you just started. So just to summarize what you said, you have said about the big shift from illness to wellness, from prescription to self-medication, that is OTC and OTX, then doctor sole source to multiple source, Dr. Sahab to Dr. Google, then pharmacy to e-commerce, and of course, general medicine to going for customized product. In fact, this big shift is very important and it has really caught up in nowadays. And you also told about before and after going to doctors, who are the influencers, that is influencing the consumers. Then about the consumer psychographic segmentation for self-medication. They are roughly of 5 types. What you said about the self-achievers. Then you had the balance seekers. You told about the priority jugglers, the direction takers, and the willful endeavors. In fact, something very interesting you said about engaging multiple stakeholders through channel management and customer engagement. And finally, you said about the leapfrogging to digital patient, building patient centricity through customer insights, penetration, and digital adoption. In fact, this entire journey of patient centricity has become the buzzword. And I am very sure that the journey from customer satisfaction to customer delight is definitely going to be something we are looking forward to. So yes, and one very important thing that you said, from illness to wellness. And in fact, COVID has shifted the paradigm from illness to wellness, and that has become a buzzword. So my first question to you is that to be more patient-centric, what should pharma marketeers do?
Thank you, Arpan, for the question. I've almost covered it. I think one of the things that happens in FMCG, and which is the best practice, and I'm not saying that pharma marketeers are not adopting it now, but we have to adopt it in a much larger way, is understanding your data, understanding your consumer insights. So look at all the data points, be it your IMS data, AC Nielsen data, every data that is present on Google. So I would see 50 sources of data, try to triangulate and come to an this thing, that what are the consumers looking for, every element that the consumer is looking for. And not only the quantitative data, which I'm talking about the data now, the qualitative insights that they are giving, which is not only through your formal research, but your informal research, which are there as secondary talk points. Today, we also have a very good listening tool, which is the social listening tool. People are discussing about various products, various molecules, various disease on Google. So social listening has become very important, because when you do a formal research, sometimes a lot of things can be a little skewed, because you're doing a focus group and people are getting influenced by those 2 or 3 people who take the lead. But on social media, because it is discreet, there's a lot of honest feedback which is going on. So the second thing is the qualitative data, what people are speaking, try to analyze that. Third, of course, is understanding the consumer journey. And I gave 1 or 2 examples that the consumer journey is not about कि मुझे ये ailment है, मैं जाती हूँ and I will take up a medicine and take it. There's a lot before she goes in for the medicine, and there are a lot of stakeholders. So understanding that consumer journey is absolutely critical. Third, of course, is the entire 4 Ps, which is very traditional. When you look at the data, quantitative, qualitative, and understand the consumer journey, you will come out with the 4 Ps. When I talk about the 4 Ps, which is the designing of the product, the packaging, every element of the packaging is today important, because if you're going to be on digital e-commerce, packaging is the first biter. And psychologically, the shape of the packaging, the color of the packaging, the way the fonts are written has a lot of psychological effect on the consumer. So the external appearance along with the internal appearance has to meet the consumer insights that are thrown in. Then, of course, the entire placement of products, which consumer you're targeting, what insights, what is the niche consumer or that has been for, what is the insight, and the channels needs to be chosen accordingly. For example, if I had 10 launches of nutraceutical products, out of which I would possibly put 3 in e-commerce and the 4 in the chain outlets, and another 3 I might go mass. So that kind of channel segmentation is also important. And fourthly, lastly, what is also important is today it is not about just communication. Yeah, about talking about Colgate. It is the communication which has to be extremely engaging, because you can't hold the digital consumer without an engaging consumer, and it cannot be product centric. It has to be a cause centric. Okay. For example, I will give from the FMCG world. If you look at Colgate, they are not speaking about the product. So Deepika speaks about her struggles. She speaks about how she has been strong to communicate the strong piece that the Colgate is talking about. A few years back, when I was designing a communication for a product, people were not looking at, हाँ मैं ये vitamin ले लूँ तो मैं strong हो जाऊँ. So this was the launch of a variant of Crucibles. It was more about, well, this is my lifestyle. I need an ally who can support this lifestyle and keep me fit from the morning 5 o'clock to the evening 9 o'clock, because I don't only have my family life, I have a professional life, and I also have a social life, and I want to enjoy myself. I want to stretch myself. I'm ambitious, and that product need to support the stretch that I have taken in life. So they need a friend. They don't need a solution. They need a friend as a product. So you have to understand that before you kind of design the communication. And secondly, also understand through the social listening that what kind of communication your digital digital thing needs, because the communication on digital not only has to be engaging, but it has to build up a lot of transparency and trust. Because on a traditional media, you just have those few seconds, but on digital media, the time that a consumer might spend may be endless. So these are the 4 or 5 things which is very important for a marketeer. And it is very important for a marketeer to monitor the product, be it a very established product which you are rejuvenating or a new product that you're launching. It is important that you are monitoring on a day-to-day basis, and digital gives you that. Ki ho kya raha hai? How can I improve from here? The product, given that pharmaceutical product has a lot of regulations and all, the product need not be changed. There could be a lot of communication change that can happen. There could be a packaging change that can happen. So do keep an eye on your product's conversation and the post service that is needed by the consumer.
Yeah, thank you, Madhumita ma'am. In fact, you said something very important about digital marketing, that is packaging, because jo dikhta hai wahi bikta hai. So for that reason, a lot of thought process goes into packaging. And as you said, in digital marketing, a customer gets a greater amount of time to go through the campaigns. And that is why sometimes it's very right that you said that the product doesn't talk about himself. Rather, it talks about the personality, the celebrity, the hardships that that person had to go in life, and from which that person, he or she, became a winner. It doesn't talk about the product at all. It just goes through the journey of the person, right from hardships, that is from rags to riches. So that is how the stories are played upon. And believe me, ma'am, these stories are something that plays on our mind. When we are buying a product, it is not the product centricity, it is the journey, the story that plays on our mind when we are going to a shop ordering a product, or when we are doing it digitally also. These things play in our mind. And in fact, you said this very well. And I'm very sure our audience have got a lot of insight, because this is something we are not often getting on LPC, that this way where the stories play a very important part in deciding which product a customer is going to go for. So this was a very important part. And I cannot stop myself from asking another question, is that how you throw light on managing patient centricity. What are the basic things during the go-to market part, that how do you manage this throwing light on patient centricity?
So when you're going to the market, and which is from strategy to the execution part, and which is very critical for a marketer, because your product depends on how you are designing your go-to market. This is what your salespeople are going to talk. So when it comes to go to the market, once you've designed a product, the pricing becomes very critical. What kind of product and pricing is also decided by what is the niche consumer that you're targeting at. So if you're targeting a consumer who is absolutely in the top end, you might just want to go and concentrate on certain kind of channels. The selection of channel is extremely important. For example, if I am selling a nutraceutical, which is going to cost me 3,000, I need not go to every chemist outlets. And let me tell you, many of my readers just force ki dal do market mein. No, it will not move out from the market. It will just come back. So possibly there your go-to market, a 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees could be Wellness Forevers, or it could be the top end pharmaceutical channel, chain outlets like in Wellness Forever, or it could be Apollo, it could be the Dhanvantaris. And within that, if say, for example, Apollo has 3,000 outlets, you may not go to all the 3,000 outlets of Apollo. You have to pick and choose the location. I might just go to 600 outlets of Apollo. Pick and choose the location where such kind of consumers will walk in to take your product. It's very important that one, you choose the markets or the geographies very well. You want to go metro, you want to go just metro and class 1, or metro plus class 1 plus class 2, all of that, and then choose the channels well. Thirdly, the e-commerce channels. There are many e-commerce channels today in the healthcare realm, whether be it your 1mg, your PharmEasy, all of that, Netmates. Then you have your e-commerce channels, like your general mass e-commerce channels like Amazon, Flipkart, etc. Even there, you have to pick and choose, and you have to pick and choose the brand store. So every e-commerce channel has a brand store where you're going to position, what you're going to position. So the three things, one is the markets, which is your cities, which up to what top strata you want to go to. Within the markets, what channels, and within the channels, what kind of channels. So if I told you that if you have so many chain outlets, need not go to all the 3,000, you might just select the location where the chemist or the chain outlet is there. The e-commerce thing. Lastly, the communication. Now the communication in store, while the communication will have a common thread, the way you're communicating on e-commerce and the way you're communicating offline also makes a lot of difference. So in e-commerce, what really works is a lot of video and information about the product and a lot of discounts. But when it comes to offline channel like an Apollo, where have you placed your product? Is it at eye level? And what is that one little sticker talking about, there about your products? It has to be very precise, and it should catch the attention of the people in the first few seconds that you see. Okay, it has to be eye level, it has to be bi level. So that communication strategy today is not a vanilla communication strategy. It's just not one thing that you're blasting across. You have to even do segmentation around that. That really leads to success. And of course, it's the Mayo's principle, whatever you monitor does well. So every time you launch, you do something new, you need to look at your numbers, you have to monitor them well and do a lot of course correction.
Absolutely. Yeah, very well said, ma'am. In fact, it's said that a product success depends on two important things. One is the positioning, second is the communication. And right. You very well said about first, I need to channelize the customers for my products. Then I need to select the channel, and third, I need to select the communication, because the communication has to be appealing to the customer segment for which I am targeting the product. Otherwise, it's going to fall into deaf ears and it's not going to yield. Like you said, kuch bhi dal do market mein. It doesn't work. You need to select the proper channel, the customer, and of course, the communication becomes very important. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking us on a journey through this nuances that you can see the niche part of doing digital marketing and having customer at the help of the product, that is customer centricity. Now I'll go over to Yashwant sir, because he has got a baggage of question for you, because before you started, he had a question. So Yashwant sir, over to you for questions for Madhumita ma'am.
Thank you very much, Arpan. Thank you, ma'am. It was really insightful learning. I was noting down the communication and new terminology you have given us, like vanilla communication and Mayo's principle. Some of the new terminology we got so that we can use in our workshop also. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the comprehensive way you have delivered in a very timely manner and crisp communication. So before going to question, let me recognize those active members who have been appreciating the session a lot. And fortunately, Ulhas Karkhani sir from IS College has joined. Ulhas sir, thank you very much for joining. We look forward to you as a speaker also. Thank you for appreciating this platform. Abhay Narayan Dwivedi from Sipla, thank you Abhay for joining and appreciating. Madhuri Doshi, Yogesh Tripathi, Balwinder Singh, thank you very much. Rajat Saha has a question. Satish Singh, NH Khan, Vikramaditya Jha, thank you very much, Vikramit. I'm going to take your question. Mohit Dalvin, Rohit, and these are the people who have joined. Kushagra Mathur, Bhavik Patil. Thank you very much, everyone. So, question to you, ma'am, is from Vikramaditya Jha, and he is asking, can pharma companies do advertisement of their most popular brands in television or any social media? So this is the question for you from Vikramaditya. Understood? Can pharma companies can do advertisement of their most popular brands on social media for better customer reach? I think there are some.
So first, I would like to understand from him what he means by popular brands. Okay, if he means by brands like a Gelicil or a Benadryl,
OTC brand can be advertised.
Yeah, so those are the brands which are under a certain schedule, because pharma industry is very, very regulated. And if the brands are under a certain schedule, which is the Schedule K, or they are completely Ayurvedic and OTC, of course, you can advertise. The others, there has been in the Indian industry a lot of RX to OTC switch, in some of them, which I have been privy to or been a part of the entire switch. Those are the brands which can be allowed. If the regulator allows it, you can be on television, on digital media, you can advertise. Having said that, the other brands, which is say prescription brands, okay, cannot be advertised directly on social media, but there is a lot of articles or things which can be written about it, so that people know about the product in and out and how they read. So which I think is through the product blog, the product information, the usage that comes into being. So not all products can be advertised, but some can be advertised and some can be written about, and some the PR can be done. For example, when Sutent was launched, which was a kidney cancer medication, or say when Prevenar was launched, which was a vaccine, there was a lot of write-ups that happened across social media to understand, because they were new products, and the information not only populated to the doctor, but also consumer, but extremely important to be very careful with all the data and facts and all the riders that, you know, this is a prescribed product. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. There is a question for Subram Sudha from Baldev Chauhan. Subram Sudha, Baldev Chauhan is the Zonal Sales Manager, and he is asking, according to you, which leadership style is most appropriate for ZSMs, Zonal Sales Manager, according to your thought? Because they will be having some managers under them, RSM, ABM, and the MR. So in that type of setup, what leadership style you recommend for Zonal Sales?
So whether you are managing a zone or you are managing all India, you are ultimately a manager's manager. You are managing a team of people who also in turn manage the ground level field force. I understand it might be a second or third line managerial level. See, again, it has to be very situational. You cannot be letting everything go or be in a laissez-faire situation. You can't be that. You have, at times you have to be autocratic when it comes to be in the last few days of the month, and you understand what I mean. During
closing time, sales closing.
Yes, that times obviously it cannot be a participative and you take numbers as it goes. It cannot be that. It has to be authoritative. But for the rest of the situations, I think it has to be a balance between participative and transactional. See, a lot of work today that our ZMs are doing. Those are very routine work. Routine work. By that I mean these are very transactional things, which you might be doing every month or every year. So I think there can be a system in place where you can agree on certain things with your team in terms of participative leadership, and then you can move on to transactional leadership.
Right. Thank you very much. There is a question again for you from Amitesh Mishra, and he's asking, sir, in your view, which style is perfect? Although there are many styles you have suggested, according to you, which is the perfect style, or you would recommend a blended approach?
Yes. So I remember my physics teacher. There is no perfect machine.
Yes.
There is no perfect boy. There is no perfect girl, and there is no perfect leader or leadership style. Yes. So it has to be a blended approach, and it has to be very, very situational. And today in this VUCA world, you cannot really say that, okay, if there was some leadership style that was perfect, leaders would have been made in factories and not in day-to-day life.
Right. Now, one more question from, this is a tricky question from Rohit. I think he knows you. What leadership style require in training function? Highly performing team, but no appreciation, no promotion. Okay. Team is performing. There is no appreciation from HO, no promotion. In that, what type of leadership style will be appropriate?
See, I think if it is a highly performing team, then you have reached a status where you have got highly performing individuals under you who actually don't need to be led on a day-to-day basis. True. So for the timing, I'll keep the promotion issue separate from the leadership issue. Promotion is not a function of leadership, right? Whether you are a great leader or you are not, that is probably not the only factor impacting your promotion. You might be a great leader, but probably there is no vacancy. They might not be able to promote you. Promotion happens when there is a vacancy as well as your competence matches with the next level. Say, suppose if you are reporting to the CEO, I'm not sure at what level you're working. Obviously, you may not be able to be promoted as a CEO. That's quite obvious, correct? If you are leading the training for a particular function, you may not immediately get an opportunity to lead for a larger function, and that has nothing to do with your leadership style. You may do a great job. You may try out new things. You may choose to work on some other aspect because your team is now set. What you're telling is a high performing team. So let them have somebody in your place, do your job, and you can move on to some new challenge. And that probably is the best message that you can give to your superiors about your readiness for your next level.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. One question for Madhumita ma'am, Satish K. Singh. Question is, ma'am, as you talked about customer centricity, right? What are the things our field people can do to have a customer centricity, to collect the customer data and profiling of the customers? Because as you know, MR and area manager, they also need to have this customer centric approach. Some tips or recommendation how to gather the customer profile, understanding their need. If you can unmute, ma'am, unmute.
I think when it comes to the sales team, they're actually the entire hands, legs, eyes, mouth, everybody. I till date, they have remained my best friend in most of the companies. Because they, when I'm speaking about identifying channels, I'm speaking about identifying markets, I'm speaking about identifying the location. They're the one who can do it very well. If they do their KYC well, they do their RCPA well, and I really suggest that all the marketeers should be on the field with them to get the right pointers for the KYC and RCPA that needs to be done for a certain product. Okay, they are the last leg of my execution and implementation, and they know the market in and out. In fact, in my tenure in Pfizer, I have taken field people as product managers, and they have made immense contribution to all my marketing strategies. As head of marketing, I think I was privileged to have some of the best district managers come and become assistant product managers, GPMs. And I can tell you they're really good because they really understand the market very well. So they play an important role. They have to know their customer well. They have to choose this channel, do the channel selections very well, depending on this thing. Thirdly, I think both in terms of RX product, what kind of patient flow is there. So I think the KYC and the RCP is extremely needed to launch the product or what the product can be placed, and the post-launch monitoring, which I tell you cannot happen from the head office. They have to happen from there, right? So they play a very critical role when it comes to the post-launch measurements or the metrics that we are looking at. If they give us the right insights, and they are the kings, they're the gods, and they're the CEOs of their location, okay? That is where the success of a product really lies.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much insightful. So before we go to Arpan again for the closing remarks, some of the appreciation I would like to read out. Satish K. Singh has shown insightful thought, practical application, indeed helpful. Thank you very much. ICS Verma sir, who is a core team member of LPC, I think digital leadership is an evolving concept. Would like to know more about the styles. Rajat Saha sir, very good explanation, especially on social media. Right. Then Madhuri Doshi, good morning. This is very nice interacting session. Feedback session was really good. Yogesh Tripathi has said feedback session. Feedback is the breakfast of champion. That session is really very good and is need of the hour. Abhay Dwivedi, great insight. Vikramaditya has shared one thought, ma'am. For acne, female first approach the beauty parlor and then only they go for the medicines. And the way you were saying, right? So for the acidity, people do their home remedies, then go for the, similar happens in our pharmaceutical also. Great insight and leadership style, Sanket Chauhan. Thank you very much, everyone, for the appreciation. It was a nice interacting and good participation. Over to Arpan.
Yes, thank you so much, Yashwant sir. As customary, I do the final part of this session. But before that, I would like to go to both our speakers for their take home for this session. So, Subram sir, your brief take home for this LPC-105.
How did you find the platform? And
so it is a great platform. As I told that I should have come before, but good that it has happened today. Great to hear Ms. Madhumita on this topic. Very important topic: customer centricity and patient centricity. Probably the future of pharma lies there. A lot of insights, and I also personally got few messages from people that people get benefited due to from these discussions. So great work, Yashwant and Arpan, to have it all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madhumita ma'am, there is a question again for you. Sorry, just now I got question from ICS Verma sir. Ma'am, what is your thought on the scope of Ayurvedic and nutraceutical in Indian pharma responding to illness to wellness? Do you think there is a huge scope of Ayurvedic and nutraceutical in Indian pharma? That is a question from ICS Verma.
Absolutely. So look at the products which are there today on e-commerce. They're all herbals, right?
Correct.
Which means today the Indians are actually looking for safe products which can solve their problems. So there are a lot of herbal products, Ayurvedic products there. And as per the AC Nielsen data and the Nicholas Hall data, the largest product, Indian OTC product, is Chyawanprash. That itself answers the question.
True. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, your closing remarks.
It is always such a delight to be on LPC, and I am not saying it because it's customary to say that. But, as a leader, I've always believed in mentoring the next level, so that it happens both ways. One, that you are passing on your thing as a leader. And second, you are building a pipeline which is so strong, which can work without you. So this platform also gives me that passion of mine. It kind of fulfills, which comes to mentoring, and the passion that you all have shown for 100 and this is the 105th or 6th episode,
Yes,
right? 5th,
105th.
right? It's humongous. Every Sunday, giving that time by certain individuals like you, it requires a lot of passion and tenacity. So hats off. As I said, that it is always a delight to be interacting with all of you, and there is always a lot of insight. Like Shubhangshu today actually revised all my leadership style, and really situational leadership is something which is very, very important because it makes you a lot of, it is flexible leadership, which is very, very required in today's time. Like the product has to be very flexible to adopt to consumer. This thing, the leadership also has to be very, very flexible. So there is always a lot of revision. There's always a lot of learning, and also meeting up new people who have the same bent of mind. So thank you so much. And it's been a privilege and a pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Still a lot of appreciations that are coming. Rupak Rathor, thank you very much. Vinod Vaswani, our core team member, he has also appreciated. Ganesh Kute has appreciated. Rohit Vilankar has shared excellent feedback and answer session by Mr. Banerjee, sir, and Madhumita ma'am. Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you very much, Rohit, for appreciation. And really, we also enjoyed. And Ulhas Karkhani sir has again said, wonderful session. Thank you very much, sir, for your appreciation. And with that, I go to Arpan for the closing remarks. And thank you very much, Imagica Health, for supporting as a media partner. Over to Arpan.
Thank you so much, Yashwant sir. Yes, Madhumita ma'am, very well said. In fact, passion is the highest passion that gives us the agility to keep learning and keep sharing. And LPC has become that platform where we are constantly sharpening the axe after cutting the trees every week. So this is our weekly elixir of knowledge. And Shubhangshu sir, what you very correctly said, that there is no one perfect. In fact, if we are aiming for perfection on the route, we can definitely catch excellence. And that has been our endeavor. Like you said, there is no perfect leader. It all depends on the situation as to where we can exercise which form of leadership. So it is definitely situational leadership, which is going to be the absolute thing that we are going to pursue whenever we are trying to tackle any situation as a leader. So coming to that as a story, today, let me narrate a story on this only, that nobody is perfect in this world. So there was a very beautiful looking girl and an extremely handsome guy who were in love with each other. And after some time, they got married and they were leading a very happy life. But one fine morning, the beautiful girl found that she was developing some skin problems. As Madhumita ma'am said about acne, she was developing some skin problems which she could not overcome. The girl was very afraid that maybe the boy who is now his husband is going to leave her because she was not looking so good right now. But this guy was very much loving and used to care for his wife very much. But this thing was always in her mind, that every day she was looking uglier and uglier, and this guy would one day leave her for another girl. But this did not happen, and one fine morning this guy had to go on a tour, official tour, and when he went on the tour, he met with a car accident, and as a result he lost his vision. Now this guy was not able to see his wife, who was getting uglier and uglier, and this made the compatibility very good, because the girl used to love the man and the man used to love the girl, and they both were living a very good life, and the love for each other was increasing because the man was unable to see his wife and the wife was constantly supporting his man in his journey because he was not able to see. So one day while climbing down the steps, this lady fell down and she died. Now this man was left all alone in this world, because this lady used to support the man in every function of his day-to-day activities, because he was unable to see. And when the last rites were performed, the man said that I can't stay in this house any longer. I want to shift from this town, because all her memories are filled up in this house. Then a friend asked this man, but then how are you going to walk? How are you going to support yourself? Because you can't see. Your wife had been your support for the last so many years. The man said, well, I was not blind. I am not blind today also. I just pretended that I am blind so that my wife doesn't allow my eyes to see her ugliness, because my sole purpose was that I should see her as beautiful as she was at one time, because me seeing her ugliness would have pained her more than the skin infections that she was suffering from. She was a good wife and an excellent life partner. So my job was just to keep her happy. So friends, as a leader, it's sometimes good to focus on just acting blind and ignore the shortcomings of the team instead of highlighting it. According to the Pygmalion theory, appreciating the team instead of pointing out the mistakes always gives a team enthusiasm, and that develops the team within itself. We need to follow Douglas McGregor's theory XY instead of blindly following either theory X or theory Y, which can be either the people are hardworking or the people are lazy. So let us go by the ideology of theory XY, which says that it is always an amalgamation of good and bad. So let's look forward to collaborating with the team to make it a high performance team. So let us be a charismatic leader and inspire the team in its journey. So that's the take home from today's session from Subram sir and Madhumita ma'am. Once again, a lot of thanks to Imagica Health for the session support and supporting our endeavor of learning and sharing. Just one small thing to all of you, that we are almost through the COVID-19 pandemic, but still it's not over. So let us exercise COVID appropriate behaviors of SMS, that is sanitization, mask, and social distancing. And I'm very sure that in quite some time, we are going to win over this pandemic. Thank you so much, all the speakers, Madhumita ma'am, Subram sir, and my co-moderator, Yashwant sir, for such insights and engaging session. This is Arpan Kumar Paul saying goodbye to all of you with a promise that next Sunday at 11 o'clock, we are once again going to rejoin you with a new set of speakers, a new topic, and of course, a new thought sharing. So thank you so much from all of us. And it is good day and goodbye and a wonderful Sunday to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let us keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So from here, now I'm ending the meeting.
Thank you. Bye.
Now you can close, Roshni.